Have you ever wondered how one man, born in a small town over 450 years ago, could invent half the phrases we still use today? How did a simple boy from Stratford-upon-Avon become the voice of kings, lovers, and dreamers, and change the English language forever? This is the story of William Shakespeare, the playwright, the poet, the mystery, and perhaps the greatest storyteller who ever lived. He wasn't born a legend. He wasn't even born rich. In 1564, a young boy named William Shakespeare grew up surrounded by words. Not in libraries, but in markets, taverns, and streets. He listened. He watched. And somewhere between the sound of church bells and the laughter of villagers, he fell in love with language itself. He didn't know Latin like the scholars of his time. He didn't come from London's high society. But he had something much rarer. An ear for the human heart. And maybe that's why his words still feel so real. Because before he wrote for the stage, he learned to write for people. At 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway. Not the Hollywood actress, of course, but a woman 8 years older than him. They had 3 children. Then, suddenly, he vanished. For nearly 7 years, history is silent. No record of him. No plays. No letters. Nothing. Historians call it the lost years. So where was he? Some say he was a schoolteacher. Others whisper he fled after poaching deer from a nobleman's land. But one thing is certain. When he reappeared in London, he wasn't the same man. He had come back a storyteller. By his early 30s, Shakespeare was writing plays that Londoners couldn't stop watching. Comedies like A Midsummer Night's Dream, tragedies like Romeo and Juliet, histories like Henry V. He was unstoppable. But what made his writing so different? Why did his words outlive every other playwright of his time? The answer lies in his words. You see, Shakespeare didn't just use the English language. He reinvented it. He created over 1,700 new words. Words we still use every day. Lonely. Majestic. Swagger. Bedazzled. Addiction. Imagine inventing addiction. That's how deep he went into human feeling. He turned simple thoughts into unforgettable phrases. All that glitters is not gold. Break the ice. Wild goose chase. Every line he wrote felt like it was spoken from the soul. But here's the fascinating part. Shakespeare didn't write for kings or scholars. He wrote for everyone. Farmers, fishmongers, nobles, lovers, rebels. They all saw themselves in his words. And maybe that's why he still lives today. Behind the fame, Shakespeare was deeply human. He lost his only son, Hamlet, when the boy was just 11. Some say that pain gave birth to Hamlet, the prince who could never stop thinking. He understood grief, jealousy, love, and loss, because he lived them. In Othello, he explored the poison of envy. In Macbeth, the madness of ambition. In Romeo and Juliet, the tragedy of young love. Every emotion we feel, he captured it centuries ago. But here's what many people don't know. By his 40s, he quietly left London and retired to his hometown. No drama. No fame chase. Just peace, the one thing he never gave his characters. He died in 1616, at just 52. No one knew he'd become eternal. For centuries later, his plays are performed in every country on earth. From London to Lagos, from Tokyo to New York. People still quote him, act him, feel him. He gave English its rhythm, its beauty, its soul. And perhaps his greatest magic was this. He didn't just teach us how to speak English. He taught us how to understand ourselves. Because when Hamlet asks, to be, or not to be, he's not just talking to himself. He's talking to every one of us. Facing fear, doubt, and the meaning of existence. That's why Shakespeare will never fade. He's not just literature. He's human nature, written down. So the next time you hear the name Shakespeare, don't just think of dusty old books or ancient theaters. Think of a man who turned language into art, pain into poetry, and words into a window to the soul. If you believe stories can still change lives, just like Shakespeare's did, then subscribe and keep learning English through the power of stories. If you love this story and want to explore more tales behind English literature, don't forget to subscribe, like and share to learn English Pro. Together, we'll uncover the stories, lessons, and lives that shaped the English language itself. We don't just study words. We feel them.